Welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to see the second unit of guidance and counseling subject, that is organization of guidance and counseling programs in school, issues related to guidance and counseling. Explain the follow-up services in guidance and counseling. So follow-up services are extremely important. After guidance session, you cannot just forget about it. You should conduct follow-up in order for effective guidance, in order for the guidance session to work, we have to conduct follow-up services. So they are an important part of guidance and counseling process which are carried out after providing guidance to an individual. They focus on evaluating the effectiveness of the guidance given and checking whether the objectives which are set in the guidance are achieved or not. Okay, they help in understanding whether the student has shown any improvement in behavior, attitude, academic performance, and adjustment. Okay, that means it guidance is very follow-up services are very helpful to understand if the person has improved or not. Okay, it ensures that guidance is continuous, systematic, and a developmental process rather than a one-time activity. So guidance is not a one-time activity. Okay, it is a continuous process. It also provides feedback to the counselors. Okay, if the counselors have done any mistake, they can modify them. If the students are repeating the mistake, they can modify that also. So it is a feedback. Follow-up services are like a feedback to the counselors. They assist in identifying any new problems or any emerging problems or any other difficulties that are faced by students. It also strengthens the relationship between the counselor and the counselor and helps in building trust between them. Okay, it also contributes to the overall personality development and long-term success. So what are the ways to keep the guidance process going on? One should maintain regular and continuous contact. One should conduct periodic reviews and evaluation. He should keep systematic records and report. Okay, just carrying the guidance session just on based on words is not correct. The person who is conducting the guidance session should maintain systematic records and reports. Okay, there should be consistency and continuity. Okay, so the counselor should encourage students to remain committed to their goals and plans. He should provide continuous supervision and guidance, and he should help students stay on the right developmental path without deviation. So the other ways to keep the feedback process going is by reinforcement and support. Reinforcement is nothing but repeatedly doing something. Okay, like reinforcing positive behavior, habits, and decisions. Okay, then adapting to changing needs. Okay, it is very important uh, mm, to understand that the students' needs are dynamic and are continuously changing. So it is very important for the guy for the counselor to conduct follow-up sessions to address these changing needs, challenges, and problems. And he has to modify the guidance and guidance strategies according to these individual differences. Okay, then having a safe space to talk. So it's the responsibility of the uh, person who is conducting guidance session to create a secure, friendly, and non-judgmental environment so as to make sure that there is an open communication and free expression of thoughts and feelings. It is very important to build trust and confidence. So the last and important point is preventing relapse and managing setbacks. So the guidance should be given in such a way that there should be a permanent change in the student. Okay, he should not go back into the old behavior. So that is very important. If he goes back to the old behavior, then there is no point of giving guidance. Okay, so he should identify early warning signs and relapse or regression. He should provide timely intervention and corrective measures. He should also teach coping strategies and problem solving skills. Okay, and he should try to prevent the reoccurrence of negative behavior and poor decisions. Discuss guidance oriented services in different institutions. So what are guidance oriented services? They are organized set of activities and programs that are designed to assist the students in their educational, vocational, personal and social development within different institutions. Okay, the main aim of this services is to promote adjustment, growth, decision making ability and overall well-being of the student. Every institution, there are many institutions like schools, colleges, vocational centers and university should provide guidance services according to the need of the institution, age of the people, and what developmental stage the students are in. Okay, so these services will mainly help the students to understand the environment, rules, opportunities, and expectations of the institutions. So these guidance oriented services will play an important role in reducing confusion, anxiety, maladjustment, and failure. So what are the various guidance oriented services present in different institutions? So first institution is school. In school, they serve, the main focus is on basic adjustment, habit formation, discipline, and academic support. In secondary school, that is the higher classes, the emphasis is on subject selection, career awareness, and personality development. Then in colleges and university, guidance will help in career planning, specialization, higher education, and personal independence. In vocational education, the guidance is mainly focused on skill development, job readiness, and employmental opportunities. Okay, so these are main institutions: schools, secondary schools, colleges, and vocational institutions. So what is the reasons for the need of orientation services? They help students to adjust to new environment. They provide information about rules, regulation, and institutional policies. They create awareness about courses, curriculum, and academic expectations. They reduce fear, anxiety, and confusion. They develop confidence and a sense of security. They help students to understand available facilities like libraries, labs, and other extracurricular activities that develop a sense of discipline and responsibility and behavior belongingness. They also help in identifying talents, interests, and abilities. They prevent maladjustment and indiscipline problems. They improve academic performance through clarity and awareness. They support students' understanding in teachers' expectations, like what teachers expect from the students. They help the students to understand and various evaluation methods. And they are also facilitating a smooth transition and adaptation to the institutional life. What is pupil inventory service in guidance and counseling? Discuss. So what is this? It is an essential component of the guidance and counseling program, which mainly involves systematic collection, organization, and maintenance of comprehensive information about students. Okay. So it basically, this pupil inventory service is like a record of the various aspects of students. Okay. So it helps in understanding individual differences, abilities, interests, aptitude, personality traits, and backgrounds of each student. Okay. So this, as I have already said, this pupil inventory service is like a provides a complete profile of the learner, which is very useful for guidance and counseling. Okay, it ensures that the guidance is scientific, objective, and individualized rather than general or assumption based. It is basically a record of every student. It helps teachers and counselors identify strength, weakness, problems, and potential of the student. Okay, then what is the purpose of this pupil inventory surveys? To collect reliable and detailed information about each and every student and to understand individual differences and unique characteristics of all the students, to identify student needs, problems, and what are their areas of difficulty, provides individualized guidance and counseling services. It assists in educational and vocational planning. It helps teachers in adopting suitable teaching methods. It supports in monitoring student progress and development, and it helps in better adjustment of the student in school and society. Pupil inventory service, what are the methods? Okay, first use of questionnaires and checklists, then conducting interviews with students and parents, and maintaining cumulative and anecdotal records. What are cumulative records? They are the overall behavior of a particular student. And what are anecdotal records? They are very short and they are objective and they relate to specifics or specific significant incident or a behavior that is observed in a particular student or a person. Okay. and using various psychological tests such as intelligence and aptitude tests, and then collecting data through observation methods, referring to school records like attendance and academic performance, uh, use of self-report techniques, and gathering information from teachers and peer group. What are its benefits? Helps in providing accurate and effective guidance, helps in early identification of problems and difficulties, supports proper educational and career decisions, and then improves teacher-student relationship, helps in planning individualized teaching strategies, contributes to overall development of the student, and reduces chances of failure, dropout, or maladjustment. And how is the data collected? Collection of personal data. First, personal data is collected like name, age, family background. Then recording of the academic data. Then gathering social data like relationships and interaction programs. Then collection of emotional and psychological data. Recording health related information. Maintaining co-curricular and extracurricular activity records. And updating information regularly for activity and relevance, and ensuring confidentiality and proper maintenance of records. So what are its application? It is used in individual counseling sessions. It is used in helping educational planning and subject selection, assist in career guidance and vocational decisions, and it is very useful in identifying gifted and slow learners, and helps in solving personal problems and social problems, supports in placement and follow-up services, aids teachers in classroom management and instruction, also contributes to policy making and program development in institutions. Okay, so let us take something like a case study. Okay, what is the purpose? What are the activities? What are the benefits? And what is the example? Okay, what is the purpose? To help students adjust to new educational environments and provides about knowledge about institutional rules, facilities, and expectations, reduces fear and confusion. So this is all about service within guidance. Okay, so what are the guidance activities that are carried on? Conducting orientation programs and introductory sessions, providing campus tours and facility awareness, explaining rules, curriculum, and evaluation methods, introducing teachers, staff, and peer groups. What are the benefits of these guidance related services? Promotes quick and smooth adjustment, builds confidence and sense of belongingness, and reduces anxiety and insecurity, and encourages active participation. So, what is an example? Uh, a school orientation program for new students, explaining rules, timetable, and facilities. And college induction program that introduces various courses available in the college, faculty, and campus resources. So let us now go to the 10 marks questions. Discuss the principles of organization of school guidance program. As we already know, school guidance program is a systematic, comprehensive, and organized set of services which is aimed at assisting students in their educational, vocational, personal, and social development. It focuses on holistic development by addressing the individual differences of each and every student. It helps in self-understanding, decision making, adjustment, and goal setting. It also reduces issues like academic failures, dropouts, indiscipline, confusion, etc. Okay, it promotes efficient utilization of student potential. Then what are the prerequisites of a guidance program? What are required for the efficient performance of a guidance program? Trained personnel are required. Qualified people are very much essential. Then a strong administrative support is most essential. Then adequate resources and facilities should also be there. Then clear objectives and policies. That is, the policies and objectives should be mentioned properly without any ambiguity. Cooperation of parents and community should be there. Then proper organization and coordination should be there. In planning of a guidance program, what are the requirements to plan a guidance program? First, identification of the student needs. Next, setting of clear objectives. Then, organization of services like orientation, counseling, placement. They should be properly organized, and the duties should be delegated appropriately. Then allocation of resources like time, budget, staff, and materials. Then implementation of the program. So the planned activity should be implemented in a systematic and organized manner. Then evaluation and further improvement. Then what is the role of principal? Principal is the chief administrator and the leader of the guidance program. Okay. He provides vision, direction, and policy supports. He acts as a coordinator between teachers, counselors, parents, and community. He maintains discipline and smooth functioning of the programs. He monitors and evaluates the guidance services regularly. What's the role of a teacher? Teacher acts as the first level guide and mentor of the students. As we already know, teacher is the one who maximum interacts with the students. Teacher spends maximum time with the students. So she is the first level guide and mentor. She observes the student behavior, interests, and abilities and problems, provides academic guidance, and helps in study habits. Okay, she maintains records and reports of the students' progress. Okay, and she identifies if the student needs any special guidance or counseling, helps in developing positive attitude, discipline, and values, acts as a link between students and parents. So guidance activities happen at various levels, at school levels, then at secondary level, that is a higher school level, then college level, then vocational level. Okay, so what are the guidance activities at the secondary level? Adolescent development, and then subject selection, developing effective study habits, then conducting career awareness programs, then uh, managing peer pressure and addressing issues like anxiety and stress, encouraging personality development and promoting discipline and responsibility among students. So, what are the guidance at higher secondary level? Career planning, selection of higher education courses, preparation for competitive exams, vocational and occupational information, developing of decision making and problem solving skills, encouraging independent self direction and responsibility, and helping students handle stress related to exams, and supporting in transition from school to college life. List out the steps in evaluation of a guidance program. So evaluation of guidance program is nothing but it is a systematic and scientific process of determining the effectiveness, efficiency, and outcomes of the guidance services which are provided. Okay, it helps to assess whether the objectives of the guidance programs are met. Okay, it is essential for making the programs accountable, purposeful, and result oriented. It provides feedback to the teachers, counselor, and administrators regarding the success and limitations of the program. It helps in identifying strengths, weaknesses, and gaps and areas which require improvement. Okay, it makes the program more scientific, data oriented, and effective. So, what is the need for the evaluation? We have already seen it determines the effectiveness of the guidance services. It identifies the strength and weaknesses of the program. Then it ensures that there is proper utilization of the available resources. It measures student progress in academic, personal, and social areas. It provides accountability to school authorities and stakeholders, improves future planning, organization, and implementation, and check whether the program is meeting the needs and expectations of the students, and support decision making and policy formulation. So, what are the steps in evaluation? First, identification of the objectives. That is clear what is the goal and or purpose of the guidance program. One has to identify it clearly, understand. Okay, then that is what the program intends to achieve in terms of students development. Then second one is criteria for measurement. One should establish various standards, indicators, and benchmarks for evaluation. Okay, and selecting appropriate tools and techniques for measuring the above ones. Okay, and helps in making accurate comparisons and judgment. And the third step is implementation of the plan. That is collection of relevant and accurate data through various sources like tests, surveys, interviews, observation, and record. This involves teachers, counselors, and students. Okay. And this also involves proper maintenance of records. Okay. Then finally, interpretation. Then the fourth point is interpretation of the findings. Whatever you have observed, whatever you have gathered, then one has to analyze that information and draw meaningful conclusions. Okay, it helps in identifying the success, gaps, and areas of improvement. It provides suggestions and future modifications. Okay, then what are the various methods of evaluation? Survey method, experimental method, and case study method. Survey method means it includes questionnaires, interviews, feedback forms, etc. Experimental methods is comparing the condition before and after implementation of the guidance program. Okay. In case study method, in-depth study of a particular student in particular areas. Okay. This is the conclusion. The third question is, what are the factors affecting guidance and counseling? Guidance and counseling, as we already know, is a professional, ethical, and sensitive process that is aimed at helping individuals achieve self-understanding, emotional balance, decision-making abilities, and personal development. So the effectiveness of counseling mainly depends on internal and external factors like ethical standards and professional conduct. Okay. Um, so in the recent times, the importance of ethical practices has increased due to growing complexity of student problems, diversity, and psychological needs. Okay, lot of need is there to maintain ethics in practices. Okay, ethical guidance ensures that counseling is safe, confidential, respectful, and beneficial for the client. Okay. Some factors that affect guidance and counseling include ethical issues, counselor competence, client characteristics, environment, institutional support, and cultural influence. Among all these, ethical principles play a central role because they help in maintaining trust, professionalism, and effectiveness. Without ethical guidelines, counseling will lead to misuse of power, confidentiality, and it also causes harm to the client. Therefore, following ethical codes and principles is mandatory to the counselor. Then, what are the reasons for ethical codes? Protection of client rights like dignity, privacy, individuality. Maintaining confidentiality. It will build trust and openness. It ensures professional and accountability. Okay. It promotes ethical decision making and integrity. It establishes standards of practice which are acceptable to the society and follows the societal norms. It prevents harm to the clients. It enhances trust in the counseling profession. So this person called as Kitchener, he he gave some of his views on ethical practices. Karen Storm Kitchener, he's a German. He proposed 5 fundamental moral principles that guide ethical decision making in counseling. So these principles are foundation for professional conduct and ethical behavior. So they help counselors deal with ethical dilemmas and complex situations. Okay. So he emphasized that counseling should be based on moral responsibility, respect for individuals, and professional integrity. So, what are the ethical principles of counseling according to him? Fidelity, that is trustworthiness. It means loyalty, faithfulness, and maintaining trust in the counselor and client relationship. So, counselor must keep promises, maintain confidentiality, that is secrecy, and act in the best interest of the client. Okay, this will build a strong bond of trust and confidence. Okay, then autonomy. Autonomy refers to client's freedom, independence, and right to make decisions. Okay, the counselor should not impose his personal beliefs or values or decisions on the client. He must always value the client's beliefs. Okay, he should encourage self-direction and self-responsibility. Okay, the main goal of the counselor is to develop decision making and problem solving skills in the client. Okay, it will promote confidence and it will boost the personal growth. Then beneficence. Beneficence means doing good and promoting the well-being of the client. Okay, so the counselor should act in ways that will benefit the client's mental, emotional, and social health. Okay, it involves providing support, encouragement, and positive guidance. Okay, it ensures that the counseling leads to growth and improvement, and it will benefit the client. Then non-maleficent. Does it mean? It means avoiding harm or injury to the client. Okay, counselor must not engage in any actions that will cause physical, emotional, or psychological harm to the client. Okay, then he must be very careful in handling sensitive issues with respect to the client. He must avoid negligence and misuse of power and unethical practices. Then the final one given by Kitchener is justice. It refers to fairness, equality, and impartial treatment of all the clients. He should treat all the clients without discrimination based on caste, gender, religion, or background. He should ensure equal access to guidance services. He should promote respect, dignity, and social justice. His counseling should be non-biased. Other factors that affect guidance and counseling are counselor competence, client characteristics, environmental factors, institutional support, and cultural and social factors. So he is Kitchener.